This is what your practice basket will look like when you're finished. You will start weaving on the bottom, so the bottom of your basket will look like this. You will weave up the sides, and then you will finish the top. So you will know the entire process of how to weave a basket. You need to start with 8 spokes about the same length, and then you will separate those into 2 groups of 4. So you should have 2 separate groups of 4 spokes. You need to put those sets of spokes together so that they lay flat, and then put one on top of the other to make a cross. Try and center them so that they are crossing right at the center of all the spokes. Now you're ready to start weaving, so you will need a long piece of reed called a weaver. You're going to start by putting the end of the weaver under the group that is underneath. So this group of spokes is underneath, this group of spokes is on top. You are going to start with the group that's underneath. Place the end of the weaver under one side, under all 4 spokes on that side, so that just a short tail sticks out. And then you will start weaving. It's called lashing, and you will start going around in a circle, going under over each of these sets of 4. So you're starting underneath, this is under, and then you will go over this set of 4, and then under this set of 4, under this one, over this set of 4. So that is one full rotation, under, over, under, over. You're going to do that 3 full times. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. So I have 3 circles going around my reed. And this is called lashing. These reeds, these spokes are lashed together. They cannot move and they are not going anywhere. Now we're going to start the actual weaving process. So we're going to start weaving under and over and separating these pieces into individual spokes. It's very important when you're weaving this type of basket that you have an odd number of spokes. Otherwise, you will always be going under the same spoke and it will not work. So right now, we are going to separate these spokes into 2s. So every 2 pieces of reed is going to be 1 spoke. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4. And we are pulling them apart from each other to try and evenly space them around this circle. This is 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. But remember, we want an odd number. So before we keep going, we're going to cut off 2 of these spokes so that we have 7 instead of 8. So I'm going to cut off these 2 spokes right here, very, very close to this lashing. Just cut them off. So now we have 7 spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now when we start our continuous weave, we will not have any problems. So at this point, you are going to start weaving over and under these pairs of 2. So I'm going to go over this one and under this one, over this one, and under this one. This one is all by itself, but I continue the same pattern. So that one goes over. And then under this one, I'm separating them as I go so that they will be evenly spaced around this circle. So I've gone around 1 time. I'm about to go around a 2nd time, and I can check myself by making sure that I'm doing the opposite. So I'm going under this one, and last time I went over, so now I'm doing the opposite, which means it's correct. Under, over, under, over, under, over. At this point, you should be starting to see your basket forming. So you need to start pushing these spokes away from you to start to form a bowl shape. And continue weaving that continuous weave, under, over, under, over. When you have completed one weaver, your practice basket is finished. We will not be adding any more to it, so that's as big as it's going to be. At this point, it's important that you put your basket back in the water to soak these spokes. If basket reed is not soaked long enough, it becomes brittle and it will break if you try to weave it. So once you have this weaver finished, put this back in the water for about 5 minutes so that these will be soaked enough to be flexible. They should be very flexible. Now we are going to finish the top of the basket. There are 2 steps to this process. The first step is to take each one of the spokes, remember that each spoke is 2 pieces of reed, and pull it over behind the spoke next to it to the right and down the side of the basket. This is why the reed needs to be soaked, so it is flexible enough to do this. So take each spoke and go under the one to the right and down. You can hold these as you go, but they will hold themselves as well. Under and down. Under and down. Under and down. Under and down. When you get to this last spoke, you are still going to go under the spoke to the right, but you will have to poke through this slot to get under it. So that is what step 1 should look like. Step 2 is to take these spokes and poke them back into the inside of the basket. So now we are going to take each one, we are going to go over the spoke to the right and back into the basket. And pull it through very tight. Take the spoke over the spoke next to it and back into the basket and pull very tight. All the way around that way, going under and in each spoke. Once they have all been tucked in, your basket will look like this, a little bit crazy. So now you just need a pair of scissors and you will trim all of those ends off so that your basket looks neat. Be sure when you cut it that there is enough left inside the basket to hold that spoke in place. I missed one because it's still sticking out, so now it needs to go in, and then I can cut it. If any of them pop out in this process, just tuck them back in. When you are finishing a basket, you always want to tuck pieces of